Today is Friday, April the 22nd, and we're continuing to read in the Old Testament, 1 Samuel chapters 6, 7, and 8, and Acts chapter 7 in the New Testament. As we get to 1 Samuel chapter 8 today, we see a turning point in the people of God's history. Up till this point, they've been led by men like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, by Moses, by Joshua. There was Noah in there, all these different things that have happened, people that have led them. And now we get to 1 Samuel chapter 8, and something happens. The people, they go, and I don't know if it's the whole nation, that's a lot of people, or if it's a group of leaders, or it's an influential group. You know, sometimes it can be a small group, but if they're really loud, it feels like everybody's doing it. I don't know exactly where this is. I have the implication that it's most of the people of God, though. It says the people, this is 1 Samuel 8, verse 19. The people refused to listen to Samuel. They said, "No, we want a king over us." And here's why they wanted a king. It wasn't because they thought there'd be a better form of government, because God had been leading them through his prophets and through his leaders and judges. It wasn't because they thought it would be a more equitable, more fair way to live. It wasn't because they thought they were in danger. It wasn't because they thought things needed reform. It was because of this. They said, "Then we will be like all the other nations, with a king to lead us and to go out before us and to fight our battles." The people wanted a king for one reason and one reason only. It's because everybody else had one. And they wanted to be like everybody else. And so they said, "Get us a king." Imagine the audacity of the people. Up to this point, they've had a king. Their king has been the Lord, Yahweh, Jehovah God. Their king has been God himself, the creator of the heavens and the earth, of all of creation. Their king has spoken to them through men like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Moses and Joshua and Samuel. And now the people speak to Samuel to speak to God, and they say, "Give us a king like they have." They are pointing out of all the Gentile nations, all the nations that don't know God. They don't know any better. They're looking at everybody that's living in sin, everybody that's separated from God, and they said, "You know what? We don't want God to be our king anymore. We want a king like they have. A king that we can look to, that we can bow down to, that we can pay taxes to, that we can follow into a war to fit his purposes, and we can have a king like everybody else does." And Samuel tries to explain, "This is going to hurt. This is not what you want. This is not it." They said, "No, we want a king like everybody else." How often do you find yourself doing the exact same thing the people of God did in 1 Samuel chapter 8? You have a king. You have a king. His name is Jesus. It's the Holy Spirit. It's God, the three-in-one Trinity. You have a king that has called you out of the nations to be different, to be set apart, to be a holy nation, a chosen people, a priesthood of believers. You are chosen to be different. And how often do we look at our king and we say, "You know what, actually, that's great, but if you could just reserve yourself for Sunday morning church, I'd rather have a government like America to follow. I'd rather have a king like they do, a CEO like they do. I'd rather have something great like they do." Just reserve yourself for Sunday morning. I'll come to church, I'll worship, I'll sing the songs, I'll close my eyes for the prayers, and I'll listen to the message, and I'll shake the pastor's hand, and I'll go home. But I really just want to celebrate my nation, my government, my king, like all the other worlds have, all the other nations have in the world. How often do we reject Jesus so we can look and sound and feel like everybody else does? But God has called you to be a holy nation. I live in America. I'm glad I do. You might live in America. But your first citizenship is in the kingdom of heaven. You are a follower of Jesus first, an American second. You are a follower of Jesus first above all else. You have a king. So it's time we surrender to him, to speak his words, live in his ways, and do his works. We don't need to look like everybody else in the world because He made us to be better. So today, you go and you live, you speak, and you act like the kingdom you're part of. And until I see you again, you are sent.